Sorry, I didn't see you guys there. But I'm certainly glad you're back to join me for this second part about the films of David Lynch. In the first part we've already covered some of his signature work, some good stuff and, well, some other stuff. So now it's time to take a look at his 5 remaining feature-length movies. As I briefly mentioned during the last part of the previous video, in the early 90s, David Lynch together with Mark Frost created what is now widely regarded to be one of the best television shows ever, Twin Peaks. The premise is simple. We're in small-town Twin Peaks where the dead body of popular high school student Laura Palmer is found. FBI agent Dale Cooper comes to investigate and soon discovers that the town has a lot more secrets and a darker side to it than meets the eye. Everybody fell in love with the show until, you know, somewhere halfway through the second season, when it was taking a little too long for the murder to be resolved. So as a result of that, David Lynch and Mark Frost, they were pressured to reveal the murderer halfway through the second season. This second season became a bit of a mess, and afterwards it got cancelled. It's, you know, it's a shame, but at the same time, you know how things went, you know, the way they did now? It did all contribute to the mythos of Twin Peaks, if you will, as we all came to know it. Still, David Lynch was like, fuck! I mean, he was still just in love with everything Twin Peaks. So he decided to make a movie, a prequel. And well, that's what we have here. Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. Wow, let's take a look. So, the movie starts with the investigation of the murder of Teresa Banks, a character only briefly mentioned during the series in relation to the Laura Palmer case. It's entertaining, but it doesn't quite feel like a Twin Peaks movie, besides some of the obligatory weirdness. Then, after some 27 minutes, enter FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper. Cal MacLachlan in perhaps his signature role. I love this character. And this is also where we get the quite memorable David Bowie cameo. Man, this scene is nuts. But then some 5 more minutes later, we get this. Now this is Twin Peaks. And there she is, Laura Palmer, alive and well. And you know, being a big fan of the series, it's so exciting, if you will, to actually see the character of Laura Palmer. You know, for once not wrapped in plastic. It's just so awesome to see everything Twin Peaks again. All those characters, the locations, the music. So, really quick, this movie, it's a prequel. We're seeing the last 7 days in the life of Laura Palmer, you know, before she gets murdered. So, technically, you could watch the movie before the series, but then again that would kind of spoil the series, since in the series they're investigating the murder that's been shown in the movie. And also, I honestly think that the movie would make like very little sense if you're not familiar with the whole Twin Peaks lore, if you will. So as much as I like this movie and as much as I would like to recommend it, I do think it's wise to, you know, if you've never seen it before, to check out the series first. But yeah, that was really quick, back to the movie. So basically, if you're unfamiliar with the whole story, it's about Laura Palmer who's living this double life. On the outside, the popular, successful high school teenager. On the inside, a broken, unhappy, deeply disturbed young girl. And sure, that might sound like your cliché teen story, but remember, this is a David Lynch movie. So what we get here is a portrait of this double life, mixed with some surreal strangeness, which would make absolutely no sense if you're not familiar with the series. At least that's my guess. I mean, even if you are, it still goes a little kook every now and then. Really, since Eraserhead, this was probably his weirdest work at the moment. But take away all this weirdness and you have a profoundly dark story that's actually quite intriguing. Unfortunately, both critics and, you know, fans of the show, they all hated this movie upon its release. But, you know, over time, people started to show it a lot more love. So, and then 2 years ago, David Lynch released The Missing Pieces. Basically, 90 minutes of deleted and extended scenes that were cut from Fire Walk With Me. And oh man, like people were super excited about this. I've seen it. I thought it was okay. Didn't really do that much for me. But one thing that is pretty cool is that this one guy, he made a fan edit, basically editing those 90 minutes of extended and deleted scenes back into the original Firewalk With Me movie, resulting in a 3.5-hour cut of Twin Peaks Firewalk With Me. Now that's pretty epic. The original movie though, you know, it's always kind of hard to talk about. I mean, I love it. Sure it has its flaws, but besides that, it's just, like I mentioned already, it's just hard to recommend this movie to someone that's not familiar with the television show. So if anything, check out the series. I mean, if you haven't already. Sure, it's slow, it's somewhat cheesy, and well, like I mentioned already, the second season is a bit of a mess, but oh man, it's good. Plus, the third season is coming soon. Boom! But yeah, let's continue. So for the screenplay to his next movie, he teamed up with the writer of the Wild at Heart novel. You know, the novel that he adapted into a movie. We've talked about it in the first part. And well, the result is Lost Highway. Yeah, and well, you thought Twin Peaks Firewalk With Me was weird? Now stuff is getting really weird. Lost Highway, or lots of highway, since we'll be seeing lots of highway in this movie. But hey, this here is actually the movie that got me into David Lynch. I remember very well when I first saw this, I just fell in love with its creepiness and weirdness. We follow Fred and his wife, Renee. There's not a lot of passion left in their marriage, and he suspects her of cheating on him. Plus, they keep receiving these random videotapes, and that's what I always thought was such a creepy idea. Especially if one of the tapes shows you and your wife sleeping. I mean, that's messed up. So, if that's an interesting premise to you, you know, if you've never seen this movie, just skip to here or just go and watch the movie, because I'm gonna spoil all of it. Because then there's yet another tape, and this time it shows Fred killing his wife. Oh, that's pretty messed up. So yeah, he ends up in jail on death row, but then all of a sudden there's this completely different character in his cell. What? Yeah, just go with it. Because now we're following Pete, a young man working at a garage where this gangster guy is somewhat of a regular customer. And then all of this, of course, also escalates. So this is some weird shit. Or the whole second part is just imagined by Fred while on death row, trying to justify or deal with, you know, coming to grips with the fact that he killed his wife. Which would make sense since a lot of characters appear in both parts of the story. And well, even if not everything adds up in that case, I still quite like this movie just for its genuinely creepy moments, memorable characters, and just overall strange vibe. And, well, gotta give a shout out to Jack Nance, of course, who, after playing the lead in Eraserhead, appeared in all but one of Lynch's movies, and, well, here we see him for the last time before his untimely death. Rest in peace. Yeah, Lost Highway. The thing with David Lynch is, you know, he refuses to explain his movies, you know, to tell what exactly the meaning behind them is. Which, on the one hand, I do appreciate. I mean, it's cool for people to, you know, like, let them do their thing, like, just figure out for themselves, like, what they get from it. But, on the other hand, it's also kind of frustrating. If anything, it's just a good thing to know going into these movies. Just so you know that it's not so much about the explanation at the end, but more so about the experience while watching this movie. And well, based on that, it's a pretty cool movie. Check it out. But now, after these last two movies, let's tone it down a little bit on the weirdness and just take a look at a more straight story. The straight story. His first movie with no involvement whatsoever in the screenplay, and his second movie to be based on true events. This time based on the life of Alvin Strait, or more specifically that one thing that he did when he was 73 years old. And don't worry, it's nothing strange. I mean, this isn't the strange story. It's the straight story. Walt Disney Pictures presents... That's a weird way to start a David Lynch movie. Anyway, there he is, laying on the floor, Alvin straight. He's old, he's not in that great a shape anymore, and then he learns about how his brother recently suffered from a stroke. And despite the fact that they haven't talked in some 10 years, he still decides that he should pay him a visit. Problem though, due to his vision, he hasn't got a driver's license, so his only other option is by going on his motorized lawnmower. Well, besides taking the bus or asking someone to drive him, but that wouldn't make for such an interesting and heartwarming story now, would it? So, long straight story short, he sets out to travel some 250 miles on a lawnmower with a top speed of 5 miles an hour. And, well, on his way he makes some stops and interact with different people, and, well, that's about it. It's a sweet and calm movie. Mostly calm though, since the pace of the movie is as slow as the lawnmower that Alvin is riding on. But that does fit the movie and its story. So he's just riding his lawnmower, makes a stop, some more riding, some more stopping, and you've guessed it, some more riding. And well, you know, sure it's heartwarming. It's also not that interesting. And I actually experienced this movie as a little boring. And then you have Alvin's daughter, played by Sissy Spacek, with this super annoying stutter.
It was July 7, 1988. Bobby, I always remember the dates.
Like, Jesus, the movie could have been 30 minutes shorter if she just talked normal. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against people who stutter, obviously, but this just felt a little forced. But hey, at least we have a sweet story, right? Or, well, do we? Even though I personally never really saw it, people seem to be reading into this movie quite a lot. And, you know, with this being a David Lynch movie, they found all kinds of hints as to the main character, Alvin, being some kind of horrible monster. And, I guess, maybe. It's just that's not at all what I saw when I was watching the movie. I mean, sure, he's kind of a flawed character, but I just feel like some people are just reading into this movie a little bit too much. And well, like I said at the beginning of the first part, that's not what we're gonna do here. So, while I thought it was an okay movie, it just didn't move me or impress me as much as I'd hoped for. Especially after reading all those raving reviews. So I think we should just move on. Which is good, because his next movie, it's his magnum opus. Well, I said that as well about Blue Velvet and Eraserhead, so what do I know? If anything, arguably his most famous movie, Mulholland Drive. Originally made as a pilot for a potential television series, but after it got rejected, David Lynch was like, fuck you, I'll just add some weird stuff and turn it into a feature. That's not exactly how it went, but you get the point. So, after the straight story, it really is time for another strange story. Let's get weird. Yes, Mulholland Drive. You know, that one street where this lady gets into an accident? She comes out fairly unharmed though, and eventually ends up on the porch of Naomi Watts, who just moved into her aunt's apartment, trying to see if she can make it as an actress in LA. That's Los Angeles. But the lady from the accident, she doesn't seem to remember anything, including who she herself is. So Naomi decides to help her figure out what the fuck is going on. And that's the easy to follow part, because besides this main story, we get a bunch of seemingly unrelated mini subplots that just don't really seem to go anywhere. There's this website, mulholland-drive.net, which lists over 50 different interpretations of this movie. And I'm like, fuck that noise. I mean, there's a good chance that there's not even one right interpretation of the movie. And to me, it's just a little silly to over-analyze a movie this much. What I got from this movie is, spoiler, skip to here, okay? Okay. Is that it's basically a Lost Highway 2, where a person kills their lover and then has to come to grips with it. Although, instead of the second part being the dream or hallucination or whatever you want to call it, like we saw in Lost Highway, here it's the first part. First part as in the first 2 hours out of 2.5. It's the most common and popular interpretation, and for me, you know, it's good enough. The movie makes somewhat sense, and you know, I can just relax, just watch it and you know, enjoy it. Because it's, you know, the movie is
it's pretty good. It looks great, you have a fitting soundtrack by Angelo Badalamenti. It's strange, but doesn't leave you completely lost. Plus, for 2.5 hours, it's not boring and actually just quite entertaining. And sure, the whole, oh, it's just a dream or imagination theory, it's kinda lame. And frustrating, because there's actually a lot of intriguing ideas brought up during the first part, but none of them really get resolved. And, well, it's actually probably this frustration that led to all these different theories. But I don't know. In the end, I guess we just have to accept that this is yet another David Lynch movie without definitive answers.
And well, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you just sort of know what to expect. It's kind of the same as what I said after Lost Highway. You just enjoy the movie and do not expect to get all the answers at the end. I've seen this movie twice now, and the second time watching it, I actually enjoyed it a lot more, I think. It's pretty good. So if you haven't already, check it out. I mean, I feel like it doesn't get more Lynchian than this. Like, this is classic, like, signature David Lynch stuff here. So, after the somewhat disappointing reception of Lost Highway, both The Straight Story and Mulholland Drive definitely put David Lynch back in the spotlight. I mean, The Straight Story was definitely well received, but this one maybe even more so, winning a lot of awards. Among others, Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival. So, you know, like, back on top of his game, what did David Lynch bring us next? Well, after Mulholland Drive, he actually only made one more feature-length movie. 10 years ago already, in 2006, we got Inland Empire. Yeah, are you guys ready for 3 hours of shot on digital video nonsense? Because, well, neither am I, but let's take a look anyway.
So, you thought that Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive were weird? Check this out. So, we follow Laura Dern once again. She's this actress and she's working on this new movie, but soon the line between reality and movie starts to blur a little bit. Which is an interesting concept, but a little over an hour into the movie, any type of traditional narrative is boom, thrown out of the window, and now you're left with 2 more hours of just pure mindfuckery. And in my opinion, not the good type of pure mindfuckery. Really, in all honesty, I have no idea what's going on. Like, literally, like, no idea whatsoever. There's something with prostitutes and Polish people, and I don't know. I really don't. But that's okay, as long as these seemingly random bits are at least a little interesting or entertaining. Which they really aren't. Oh man, and add to that this ugly video look, with ugly close-ups and ugly. And really, you end up with a movie that I really had to force myself to sit through a second time. And, you know, that sucks. I mean, I like the idea of this meta-ness of, well, at least the first hour, but even this is just so boring. The movie starts with Laura Palmer's mother talking a bunch of nonsense, which is already kinda hard to sit through. Oh wait, and that's not even the actual beginning. The actual movie starts with some random Polish scenes and bits from David Lynch's 2002 series Rabbits. But doesn't matter, the effect is the same, it's pretty hard to sit through. And where his previous surreal work is mostly entertaining, which makes me sorta wanna read into the movies, this one does the complete opposite. Really, the whole movie, it feels so disjointed and it's so boring and it looks so ugly, you know, that I just don't care. I don't want to know what it's about. Apparently, David Lynch just wrote a bunch of scripts before every day of shooting and then just go ahead and shot different scenes without knowing how they would eventually fit into the final cut, you know, the final movie. And that's a cool experiment, I guess, but in my opinion, the result in this case is just pretty much worthless.
It really is a shame, because, you know, to date it's his latest feature film. I don't know. Unfortunately, because of that, I can't really recommend this movie, because, you know, I honestly didn't care for it at all. But if what I just showed you, if it looked interesting for whatever reason, yeah, you know, like, who am I to stop you from checking it out? And well, that brings us to the end of this two-part video series about the films of David Lynch. Obviously, you know, like just two short, like 15 somewhat minute videos, it's not gonna be enough to like really cover his work and his style of filmmaking. At least definitely not to go in depth. So, you know, like these videos might seem a little superficial, but I don't know, I always just imagine these two parts as more so a introduction to his filmography and style of filmmaking. You know, I guess for the people that aren't too familiar with his work. So yeah, I hope like maybe I got some people curious to check out some more David Lynch stuff. Just keep in mind while watching his movies that it's definitely more so about the experience. Like I said 100 times already. More so than, you know, like at the end of the movie being like, what? Like, where are the answers? Because they're probably only in David Lynch's head if they are even there. So yeah, well, what can I say? I definitely hope you enjoyed these two videos. And well, like I always say, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.